the example of South Africa is interesting, right? So white people once controlled that nation, and now they don't. And there's a racial grievance there with black people because of the apartheid. And now white people are at a huge disadvantage. You have
They're not.
brutal farm attacks
No,
in
they're
South
not.
Africa.
They're
You have
overwhelmingly powerful.
you have affirmative action policies. I mean, speak to any white South African, they'll tell you they're kicked to the bottom of the list for
Well,
jobs.
okay.
They
Well,
can't find jobs.
speak to a black South African, and
This
what are you going to listen to?
Yeah, and then black South Africans have the power. Look at
Okay,
the parliament. Show me a white
wait.
person in the government.
Yeah, South Africa is like 92% black. Look at who
Okay,
has
but
the money.
so then white people should
Once
be in
again,
the
you say
government,
white
right?
people are oppressed in an area where they're overwhelmingly overrepresented in basically every demographic of power.
So then why aren't they in the government? Why aren't they setting policy?
Because they're an overwhelming minority of the population.
But if they control everything, you'd want to have your people in power
I
and
didn't
making
say they
decisions in
controlled
the
everything.
government.
Wait, hold on. Fathom nuance.
Okay, so
I
they
said
only
they were
control it
disproportionately
indirectly.
powerful.
So why do they have like the affirmative action policies down there? It's called Black Empowerment, BE or something like that. And
For the reasons I just said. If
why would white people do that?
are disproportionately what is this policy?
It's for jobs where black people get preference.
So, like I just said, because white people have overwhelming advantages when it comes to educational and economic attainment, the affirmative action policies exist to counterbalance the advantage of white people. You don't put in place affirmative action to benefit the privileged group. You do it to benefit the disprivileged
Yeah, so
group.
why would these powerful white people, these racist and powerful white people, want to privilege or elevate black people?
They don't. The government, which is mostly run by the people who are mostly
By
black,
blacks.
does.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's
So
mostly
then blacks
black
have
people
the
in the
political
country.
power. So
So
blacks have the
wait,
political
okay,
power.
let's run this through again. Okay, maybe I'll say it slower the third time if needed. White people in South Africa have disproportionate educational and economic attainment, but they don't control the government because it's a democracy, and most of South Africa is black. So the government of South
That shouldn't be
Africa
the case. Why aren't
passes
the political
affirmative
parties
action
having,
laws.
Why don't the political parties have white people in charge?
What? Because they're voted on.
Okay, but the actual people in the
Do you know
parties
how
are not
this
necessarily
works?
voted on.
Wait, hold on. Do you know how this works?
So like the main party in South Africa, do they vote for the person to get into that party, or they elect him, or they just appoint him?
So a candidate runs for election, and the people vote on a candidate. And given the fact that South Africa is majority black and politics are heavily racialized, considering they were under apartheid until recently, generally speaking, parties that represent the majority of the black people in black South Africa have black candidates. So the government is run by mostly black people.
And so they don't vote for white candidates. So I bet if a white person ran for one of these parties, nobody would vote for them because blacks are voting for blacks. And so
yes, there is a racial grievance in the formerly apartheid South Africa.
So then white people are being disempowered, disenfranchised. They don't have the same say that black people have, especially in politics. The most powerful instrument in society is the government.
So we'll try this.
If the
we'll try this
one more time. In the interest of black people, to elevate the positions of black people above white people, then why the hell would white people want to partake in such a system?
Why do they stay there?
Why they're trying to leave. A lot of them try to leave, but they can't get refugee status.
They're not. Wait.
I mean, I've talked to these people.
Hold on. Stop. You haven't. I'm more familiar with the situation than you. No, you heard a couple stories of white farmers getting attacked. You don't even know how their political system works. The white people, and as is always the case with any large racial group in South Africa, there are poor white people, but on average, they're doing a lot better than the average black person. They are sheltered from a lot of negative government policy. Yes, like I said, there are poor white people. However, on average, do you know how averages work? It's when you take a group of numbers and you use a mathematical formula to derive a single number from a collection, and you can use that to learn stuff.
Okay, none of this really matters to me. I'm just telling you that when white people are disempowered the way that they have been in South Africa. And now in a democracy, as you say, black people will vote for other black people and not for the white people. And they will do that so that they can get advantages. This is not in the interest of white people. So that's a reason for white people to separate. That's a reason for white people to have their own state
so you
they can have their own people in power.
The only reason this is an issue is because the white people in South Africa were people like you, right?
Yeah, they made a mistake by not separating from the blacks.
No. As in, you created the problem. This is always we're trying to find the guy who did it situation, where you have all these problems that are created by like very racist white people, and you, a very racist, I think, white person, are like, yeah, shame how all those black people are distrustful of white candidates who majority voted white interests. How could that have happened?
Okay, so that's the perfect thing. That then if black people are distrustful of white people, they have a historical grievance against white people, then why would white people want to exist in this kind of democracy where they can't ever win an election because blacks have a grudge against them? And they're just going to be progressively disenfranchised.
Well, maybe the scars of apartheid will heal. Wait, not
why
into,
the fuck
wait,
would
not
we
into
want to continue to
perpetuity.
participate in this?
Wait, if it was into perpetuity, then how is it that white candidates are able to win when they run for election in local offices in areas that are majority black in the American South?
Why do they have in South Africa breakaway territories like Orania?
Because a lot of the white people there miss being able to own slaves?
No, it's because there's all kinds of violence done against white farmers.
Yeah, a little bit in South Africa. Just like in Rhodesia, the other basically slave state.
Lost power. Yeah, when white people lost power, they were persecuted.
Maybe you shouldn't like do the slave
were
state
taken
thing.
from them.
That's
okay, so you're
crazy.
just justifying it.
Wait, hold on. In this case, you're literally talking about like a colonized people repelling a foreign army. Like what you're essentially saying is like, why are these black people not working with us as you're like raping and killing them? Rhodesia, like this is the black people having grievance?
So white farmers deserve what they got there. They deserve to be killed and have their land taken from them. They're actually calling them back now. A lot of the white farmers are saying, please come back.
Wait, are we talking about Rhodesia or South Africa?
Rhodesia. There was a huge crisis there after white people got kicked out, basically.
Yeah, do you know why? Because when white people came in with guns and took over, when white people came in with guns and conquered Rhodesia, and later they were overthrown and repelled because it wasn't a democratic state where black and white people were getting along. It was one where black people were held at gunpoint. There was no democracy. It was so undemocratic. Rhodesia was so fucked that the British colonial empire refused to endorse it. How bad do you have to be for the British to not even be willing to defend you? And they didn't.
So that's just more proof that blacks and whites can't live together in Africa.
You are the problem in this scenario. You're like, you're shooting a black guy and you're like, why can't we get along?
What? Well, do blacks not shoot whites? Do blacks not do anything
in Rhodesia?
bad to white people?
Eventually they did. They were right to because you were the invading army. Yeah. Eventually,
in South Africa. So this is what happens, okay?
Wait,
so
then stop being the occupying army.
You are making the point for me for racial separation. They have a grievance.
They
hate white people.
Let me try to run this by you again, okay?
And so now
these people in Africa,
how about we just separate?
These people in Africa were separate until white people invaded, killed, and set up plantations for them to work on. And then that was when they hated the white people. People in Africa didn't hate white people until white people gave them a reason to hate them.
White people were down there for hundreds of years ago, man. Dutch settlers were.
And how do you think South Africa's racial situation was 300 years ago?
I don't even think there was. They were actually like almost separatist states there for white people before, and then the Boer Wars actually pushed them all together into one state. So prior to this, the whites were kind of running their own communities.
No, they weren't. All of these areas were majority black.
The Transvaal state.
Wait, hold on. Wait. So just to be clear, because this is like comedy, the absurdity of what we're talking about. You're bemoaning the anti-white hatred of groups of people that you invaded and conquered and subjugated to hundreds of years of slavery and then borderline slavery conditions. And then in the past few decades, when they finally take their countries back from the occupiers, from people who were so racist that the English Empire...
There was no South Africa.
Hold on.
Before the white people came, there was
the
no
concept. Wait,
Rhodesia,
the concept of a nation state didn't exist as far back as the first colonial expeditions into South Africa.
Yeah,
but stick with my point.
They didn't have nations.
Stick with my point. So you are bemoaning, oh, poor us, everyone hates the white man, when you are literally going in there and subjecting them to the worst conditions imaginable.
What do you mean you? I did that? Did I personally do that?
I'm sorry, are you not here identifying with the white race today? Should I divest you, Martinez?
So the white race is collectively guilty for all of these sins?
Wait, you are, because you're ideologically complicit. I'm not.
So I'm collectively guilty for what white people did anywhere at any time.
No, you're collectively guilty for what racists have done.
Because I support whites and don't want whites to be persecuted and want whites to thrive, I have to take the blame for all this?
Could you just for a moment stop being a woman with me and like directly own up to what you believe? Oh, you just hate me because I support white people? Fuck out of here with this shit. Jesus Christ, were you bullied in high school? For a moment, listen to what I was saying. You're complaining about white grievance in areas where you conquered, raped, invaded, and enslaved. Obviously, people there...
invaded, enslaved all over the world.
Hold on, stop. Again, whataboutism? You cry.
So what?
In these areas, of course, there's racial grievance. God willing, given enough time,
so you're telling me...
disappear.
So you're telling me I have to accept the racial grievance, and I have to go along with it, and I have to...
You don't... Wait, do you live in South Africa? Do you live in Zimbabwe?
No, but
then you don't have to deal with any of this.
Okay, but I'm concerned about it. I'm basically just making the argument
because you whine about stuff that you haven't experienced.
When white people become a minority, as they are in South Africa,
white people have always been a minority in South Africa for the entirety of the time that white people have been there.
So it's an example of whites being a minority and having their political power stripped from them, and them being
hold on. They didn't have their political power stripped from them in a democratic sense. They were the autocratic rulers of that territory, and then they got brought down to being equal citizens. They were not equal citizens made lower.
They're not equal citizens anymore.
They were the rulers made equal.
Yeah, but now the tables are
turning. Think for a moment before you say what you're about to say.
You're about to say something dumb. Living in slums. There's quite a few white people down there suffering.
Oh no! Are there black people living in slums?
Maybe they are.
Maybe but there might be. We should get some reporters on the scene to see if there are any black slums in South Africa.
You understand?
Or if it's just the white people.
I'm advocating for racial separation here, and I think this would
doing a terrible job of it.
So what are you going to do? Is let's say a country in Europe decides, hey, we're actually going to do this. We're going to do the ethno state. What are you going to do about that?
I would hope you could politically pressure them. I mean, you can't invade just over that. That'd be horrible. But you can, threaten sanctions if they're really bad.
You want to do war with them, right?
I just said you can't invade them. I just said the opposite of what you heard.
You can't. So you want to pressure them with sanctions if they have an ethno state?
Well, depending on how they do the ethno state. Like, if they end up mass killing or deporting people in their borders, then that could potentially be a crime against humanity. Depending on how bad what they do is, invasion might be warranted. Like, for example... if South Africa started slaughtering the 6 million white people within its borders, I would be fully in favor of NATO atomizing that place in the dust. You'd love that, right? Because you'd be getting back at them uppity blacks in South Africa, getting mad at their oppressors. But hey, I'm consistent. Well, I just don't like ethno states.
I would be for helping out some white people down there.
So you would be okay with military interference to prevent the formation of an ethno state?
No, I would be for creating an ethno state for white people in South Africa.
Okay, so you don't care about which areas historically belongs to which people. Of course, you're the imperialist.
You don't believe that. You think it
because this is I love that I tease this out of you. You're like Africa for Africans. You're like Africa for Africans and Europe for Europeans, and then you're like, also we should have a white ethno state in South Africa. Fuck out of here. You're the imperialist, bro.
Years, big guy. Those people have been there for hundreds of years.
Okay, who's been there for thousands?
There's plenty. Yeah, they can have their ethno state. I'm not saying they shouldn't have it. I want them.
What do you think a South African ethno state would look like?
Let's have ethno states. If black people think that white people are going to do them harm, then the easy solution to that is to separate based on race. If black people in America think white people are going to do them harm, then let's separate. I think they're going to do us harm. I think they're doing us harm right now.
I agree. And every time any group of people within a country disagree, they should separate.
Well, I mean, it's happened.
We're going to form the Balkans all over the world.
Yeah. Why not? I think that's
the Balkans are doing great, bro.
That's a good example.
The post-Yugoslav collection of states are doing great, dog.